Today we're going to be going over our right angle triangles, and we are going to just start with our Pythagoras ones. So remember that Pythagoras is the square of the two short sides, and when you add those together it is the square of the hypotenuse. Now remember, the hypotenuse is always the longest side, and it's always the hypotenuse that the two short side squares add to. A big mistake people make is that they look and they just add the two that were given. So just make sure that you are adding the two short sides. Here is an example. So I have been given my right angle triangle. It's very important to think which is the hypotenuse. So I want you to have a little think about that. I've got a 4, a 5, they are on either side of my right angle. So opposite my right angle is my hypotenuse. So I know that that is the one as my hypotenuse. So I know that a squared plus b squared equals a hypotenuse squared. Now it doesn't matter which one I choose as a or b, in case you're wondering. I could have chosen it the other way around because it doesn't matter which way you add. So 5 squared plus 4 squared is x squared, which gives me 25 plus 16 is x squared. 41 equals x squared. A lot of people stop here. Now that's not where you need to stop. We need to carry on going. We are looking for what x is. What is that one side? They haven't asked me for x squared, so I need to square root. So the square root of 41 is 6.4. Obviously just round to a sensible amount. Here's another one. Again, we need to think, which is my hypotenuse? Okay, so obviously opposite my right angle is my hypotenuse, so it's going to be the two on here added together. That is going to give me what my answer is. So I've gone that is my A and that is my B. Again, it wouldn't have mattered if I'd gone 8 squared plus x squared equals 10 squared. The only one that really matters is the hypotenuse. Again, I'm going to square those, so 8 squared is 64 and 10 squared is 100, and x squared equals 100 minus 64. I've pretty much just taken 64 off both sides, and that's a 6 another way. I get 36, and we all know that the square root of 36 is 6. So again, really, really easy to do those. Trigonometry is the next little section. So when you're looking at trigonometry, it's very, very important that we label our triangle in terms of the angle given. So if this is the angle I'm trying to find, or the angle I've been given, my opposite side is exactly opposite to that. It says opposite the angle that you're trying to find or that you've been given. My adjacent is the one that's next to it. So often people say attached. So adjacent or attached. Adjacent just means right next to. And my hypotenuse again is opposite the right angle that we've been given. And the hypotenuse is always the longest side. All right angle triangles of a specific angle are similar triangles. So if I had a big triangle with a size of 30, it's going to be with the sides are going to be the same ratios as a larger triangle with an angle of 30 degrees. These ratios are called sine, cosine, and tangent. There are more, but at the moment those are the ones that you need to know. So sine theta is the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse, and it'll always be those two. Cosine of theta is the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. It is always going to be those. And tangent is the opposite side divided by the adjacent. Now we're going to look at how to use SOHCAHTOA. So in class we went over SOHCAHTOA, some old hens cackle and howl till old age. And that is a really good way to remember the letters in the correct order. First of all, write out the triangles as shown on the left, and there they come in. So if you put the center letter above the other two, it kind of gives you an idea of how we're going to use these different things. So as you can see, if the letters are side by side, we multiply, and if they're above each other, we divide. So when I do those, I decide what ratio I need to use. We label our triangle obviously with all the sides. We're going to put the information into the triangle and then we are going to solve. So let us do those now. If I've got this triangle here, I am going to need to label my triangle. So first of all, this is the angle I've been given. So this one over here is my opposite. Right next to it is my adjacent or attached, and the long one is my hypotenuse. Now, in this triangle, I haven't been given any information about the hypotenuse, and I'm not asked to find it. I'm asked to find this V. So V is important, and the 30 is important, but I don't need to know anything about that hypotenuse. So I'm going to cross it out for now. I've labeled my triangle, and now I need to think about what my triangles were. I'm going to just write my SOHCAHTOA up at the top here. SOHCAHTOA, or some old hens cackle and howl till old age. And I need to say, well, which one of those three uses the opposite side and the adjacent side? So that's not, but my TOA does use my opposite and my adjacent. So that is one I'm going to use. Now I'm going to fill in the information that I've been given about this triangle. So I know that my opposite is V that I'm trying to find. It's always the sine, the cosine, or the tangent of the angle. So it's going to be tan of 34. So this is my triangle that I'm filling in from above here. And I know that my adjacent side is 30. So I'm going to put that in there. Now, just flicking back to our previous, no, it doesn't go back. Okay. Looking back at thinking back to my previous slide, because this doesn't seem to go back. Remember, if the two items are next to each other, it means multiply. And if they were above each other, it would mean divide. But I've got, cover the one that I'm trying to find. So I'm going to not worry about that. V equals, and they're next to each other, what's left. So it will be tan of 34 times 30. And you can work out what that is. And we will get 20.2. So that side length is 20.2. Now my other answer has come up as well, but let's just have a look at what I'd need to do for the second one because it is slightly different. Again, I'd label my triangle. It goes 31. This is my opposite. The one next to it is my adjacent. Again, I don't need to find my hypotenuse. I haven't been told what it is, and I don't want to find it, so I just don't need to worry about that one. So I'm going to, again, use my tangent. So draw in my triangle here. I'm still trying to find V, but this time V is my adjacent. It's over there. Okay, that's where my A is. And opposite is 8. So it's going to be 8 at the top there. And my angle this time is 31. So again, it's still tan because it's still opposite and adjacent, but this time it's 31. Now, that's the one I'm trying to find. So I'm going to write that V equals. And I'm left with 8 over tan of 31. Now, in the same thing in algebra, when you've got something over something else, it means divide. So it's going to be 8 divided by tan of 31. And when you put that into your calculator, you should get 13.3. Give that a go and make sure that that works for you. Looking at these ones, I would like you to have a little sketch of these somewhere, and I'd like you to think about what the sides are called and how we're going to work it out. So pause the video and do that yourselves. So here I have got an angle of 50, so I'm going to look at my opposite, and this is my long side, which is my hypotenuse. This one that was next to it is my adjacent. I don't need to worry about that. I'm just going to write my SOHCAHTOA up the top here. It's always handy to have it somewhere where you can see it. And when I look at this one, it's my opposite and my hypotenuse, so I'm going to use my sine of the angle. So I have been given C, That is my opposite. My angle is 50, so it's sine of 50, and my hypotenuse is 15, and hypotenuse goes there, so I'm going to put that in there. Now, I'm looking for C, so C equals, what I'm left with is the two items next to each other, so that'll be sine 50 times 15, and I get 11.15. Sorry, just 0.5, sorry, I can't even read my own things. And we've got the answer for this one as well, but let's do it again because this case is going to be slightly different again. When I do this one, here is my angle and I've been given my opposite and I'm looking for my hypotenuse because the angle is now in the top corner. So again, I've got sine, opposite is above, so it's going to be C over there. Sine is what I'm given, so it's going to be sine of 32 degrees, and my hypotenuse is over there, so that is going to be 25. And if you go sine 32 degrees times 25, so that's what I'm looking for. They are next to each other. And you will get 13.2 when you put that into your calculator. Now what I'm going to look at is trying to find my angle. In this case, they've asked me to find angle M. So that is the angle I'm trying to find. So I need to label my triangle in terms of this angle here. Sometimes you could just call it theta. It'll just give me something to write there. So this side is my opposite side, and this side is my adjacent side. Doesn't take long just to write those in. So I've got SOHCAHTOA and opposite and adjacent. I'm not worried about this side. It is my hypotenuse, but I don't need it. I don't have it. So I'm going to use tangent because that has got opposite and adjacent in it. So I'm going to do my triangle. Now in this case, I've been given just theta. I don't know what the angle is. So I'm just going to write here tan. I put the theta in. You can put whatever you like. We generally use Greek letters to show angles, but if you don't, it doesn't matter. So opposite in this case is 4 and adjacent is 3. So opposite and adjacent I've just copied from my triangle. So I know that tan of theta is equal to 4 over 3. Now to undo the tan of theta, I need to inverse tan. So I'll get theta equals tan to the -1 of 4 over 3. And when you put that into your calculator, you'll get an answer of 53 degrees. Now, the next one is an interesting one. So I want you to just have a look. The difference between this one and the one previously is they've actually given us all 3 of the sides. So we can choose whichever formula or whichever ratio we want to use because we've got, we're trying to find the x. So I'm just going to put beta in there because I've done theta already. So from here, this is my opposite, this is my hypotenuse, and this is my adjacent. So I could use sine because I've got my opposite and my hypotenuse. I could use cos because I've got my adjacent and my hypotenuse. And I could use tangent because I've got my opposite and my adjacent. So because I've already used tangent, I'm going to use a different one. I quite like sine, just because, I don't know why. You can try it with cosine and see if you get the same answer as me. So first of all, I'm going to write down that I'm going to use sine. Again, you could have used any of them. So I'm using sine over here. Let's put a little triangle around that. So my opposite side is 48 and my hypotenuse is 73. And I'm going to use sine, so it's going to be sine of beta, or whatever letter you chose to put in there. So I know that sine of beta is equal to 48 divided by 73, because you divide when it's over each other. And to undo the sine of the angle, you inverse sine it. So sine to the -1 of 48 over 73, and when you do that you should get 41 degrees. So hopefully you did get that, and I need to power up it seems, so I'm going to stop here.